It was a cold day in December 1787. There was a strong wind and a green sea. 3 men and a boy stood on the deck of the little ship HMS Bounty. Behind them, on the land, were some hills and small white houses. The ship moved slowly out to sea. The boy, Peter Heywood, was 14 years old. He was a young officer, and he was happy and excited. "England looks very small, Mr. Christian," he said. Fletcher Christian smiled at him. Christian was a tall young man, with black hair and a long, tired face. "England is small," he said, "but we're going to some much smaller islands. Tahiti, the Friendly Islands. They're small, but they're very warm and beautiful." A sailor, John Adams, laughed. "That's right, Mr. Christian, sir," he said. "Good food, warm sun, blue skies, and hot, beautiful women, too. I want—" "Be quiet, man," someone shouted. Christian and Heywood looked behind them. They saw the captain, William Bligh. He was a small man with brown hair. Christian knew Bligh well. They were friends. But Bligh was a captain now, so things were different. The Bounty was his first ship, and it was very important to him. "Don't talk about women on my ship, Adams," he said angrily. "Be quiet and sail this ship. Do you hear?" "Yes, sir," said Adams quietly. "Now, listen to me, Mr. Christian. And you too, Mr. Heywood." Bligh stood very near them, but he didn't speak quietly. All the sailors could hear him. "I'm the captain of this ship. Remember that. We're going 30,000 kilometers through bad weather and very bad seas, and I don't want any accidents. You are officers, so you don't talk to sailors about women or drink or anything. You must work hard, and your sailors must work hard too. Do you understand me, Mr. Christian?" "Yes, sir," said Christian. But he didn't look happy. "Good. And you, Mr. Heywood?" "Yes, sir." The boy looked at Bligh, afraid. Then Bligh smiled. "Is this your first time at sea, boy?" "Yes, sir." "Well, you must work hard, and listen to me. One day, perhaps, you can be a captain too. Would you like that?" "Yes, sir, of course," Peter Heywood smiled. "Right then. Mr. Christian, look at those men there. They aren't working. Run and talk to them, quickly." Bligh smiled again at Heywood. "In a happy ship, the men must work hard, but the officers must work harder. Do you understand, boy?" The Bounty sailed south across the Atlantic. For 10 days they were in a storm near Cape Horn. but they could not sail west because of the strong west wind. So they sailed east to South Africa, Tasmania, and Tahiti. There were 33 sailors on the Bounty and 11 officers. Bligh was the captain. Christian was his second officer. The ship was often wet and cold, but no one was ill. Once Bligh gave the sailors some apples, but they would not eat them because they were old and bad. Bligh was very angry. "Damn you men!" he shouted. "Apples are good for you. You eat them, I say." On the 26th of October, 1788, the Bounty arrived at Tahiti. The islanders came to the ship in big canoes with food. The king of Tahiti, Otto, was friendly. Bligh went to Otto's house and gave him things from the King of England. "Thank you, Captain," Otto said. "You are welcome here. I must give the King of England something too. But he's a rich man. What would he like? Do you know?" Bligh smiled. It was an important question. "My king is very rich, Otto," he said. "But we don't have any breadfruit trees in England. My king would like some for his people in Jamaica. Can I take some on my ship?" Otto laughed. "Of course," he said. "That's easy. Take lots of them. My people can help you." The Bounty stayed at Tahiti for 5 months, and by March there were 1,000 breadfruit trees on the ship. Tahitian children played on the ship, and in the evenings the sailors danced and sang with the women. One morning, some sailors and Tahitian women took a ship's boat to a different island. Bligh was very angry. When the sailors came back, he put chains on their legs. Then he shouted at his officers and men. "You men must stay away from these women," he said. "You must all listen to me and work hard for me and the king." Some officers kept pigs on the ship. Sometimes Bligh took the pigs from his officers. "I'm giving this food to the sailors," he said. "They need it, not you." April the 4th was the Bounty's last day in Tahiti. The ship was full of food and people. Otto and his family, all the sailors and their Tahitian friends. But nobody sang or danced. Everyone was quiet and sad. Peter Haywood saw John Adams with a Tahitian woman. She cried, and he talked to her for the last time. Then she got into a canoe and went back to the island. Peter stood near him sadly. The sun went down in the west. "Mr. Christian," shouted Captain Bligh, "are all the Tahitians off the ship?" "Yes, sir," Christian answered. "Good. Then we sail for Jamaica and then back to old England." He looked at Peter. "Don't stand there, boy. Get to work. Look at all our beautiful breadfruit trees. King George is going to be very happy about them." On the evening of the 26th of April, Adams saw Bligh on deck. He looked angry and stopped near Fletcher Christian. "Mr. Christian," Bligh said, "where are my coconuts? I had 50 yesterday, and there are only 20 here now. Where are they? Do you know?" "No, sir," Christian said. "I don't know. I never saw them. I didn't take them. You know that." Captain Bligh looked at his tall young officer and said nothing. Bligh and Christian were once friends, Adams remembered, but not now. Bligh was often angry. Christian was always worried, afraid. Bligh said, "Mr. Christian, you took my coconuts. I know you did. You're my second officer, but all you officers take my things. God damn you all." At 4 o'clock that morning, Adams saw Christian again. It was a quiet night, and the ship moved slowly through the water. Christian had a piece of wood with him and a bag. His face was white in the moonlight. A young officer, George Stewart, talked to Christian. "What are you doing, Mr. Christian?" Stewart asked. "I'm in hell," Christian said. "Bligh doesn't like me, or any of his officers. I must leave the ship." "Leave? What are you talking about? How?" "I have some food in this bag, and wood, and I can swim," Christian said. "We're not far from the island of Tafua. Perhaps I can swim there." "Swim to Tafua? Of course you can't, man. Do you want to die?" "It doesn't matter. I can't stay here with that man. I'm in hell, I tell you. Every day he shouts at me, and it takes a year to sail to England. I must leave the ship." "I understand," Stewart said. "Many of us are afraid of Bligh. We don't like him. But you must stay. You're our best officer. Listen to me now." Bligh was in bed when the door opened. Christian came in with 3 sailors. It was still dark. Bligh opened his eyes. In the moonlight, he saw the gun in Christian's hand. "What?" Bligh sat up. "Get out, damn you! This is my—" "Hold him," Christian said. The sailors put Bligh's arms behind his back, and Christian tied them with a rope. "Now, sir, come with us." They took Bligh out of his bed and up onto the deck. He wore a shirt, but no trousers or shoes. There were 10 or 12 men there with guns and small swords. Christian held Bligh's hands with the rope, and Adams stood behind Bligh with a gun. "What are you doing?" Bligh said angrily. "Let me go at once. You're—" "Be quiet," Adams said. "Listen to Mr. Christian." "But I'm the captain." "Not now. "This is our ship now," Christian said. "Adams, put the launch in the water." The launch was a small boat, 7 meters long. Adams put it in the water next to the ship. "Right," Christian said. "Thank you, Adams. You stay with me." Christian looked at some other sailors. He didn't like them. "You men," he said, "get into that boat. Quickly now." "No!" Bligh shouted. "All of you, stay on this ship. Help me, now." He began to run, but Christian held the rope, and Adams held a knife to his neck. "Do that again, Captain Bligh, and you're a dead man," he said quietly. At the front of the ship, Peter Haywood came up on deck. "What's happening?" he asked. He was afraid. "Be quiet, Peter," Christian said. "You stay there." "Get into the launch, you men," he shouted. "I told you." Slowly, 18 sailors got into the launch. Then Christian took Bligh to the side of the ship. "Now you, Captain," he said. "Over the side." 2 men carried Bligh over the side of the ship. Then the sailors threw some bread into the launch with a barrel of water, a little meat, bottles of rum and wine, some rope and sails, and some of the captain's books. "You see, we aren't going to kill you," Christian said. "You can live on that for a week or 2. "But why are you doing this, Christian?" Bligh shouted angrily. "I'm your captain, and your friend." "No, you're not. Not now," Christian said. "Don't you understand? I'm in hell with you here on this ship." "You're going to be in hell all your life now, Christian, because of this," Bligh said.